For an anime as special as Frieren, the theme songs naturally play a huge part in its storytelling. From Season 1's perfect Anytime Anywhere that serves as the sole ED for 28 episodes, to The Story of Us that, while not the perfect Frieren song, still managed to be an improvement as a standalone track. And now, Trace, the special ED for the final episode of Frieren Season 2. In this video, I'm going to talk about why Trace is the sister song of The Story of Us, how their lyrics complement each other, and why it's the perfect song to wrap up an entire season. Since I'm a fan of milet, similar to Bliss from Season 1, I was already in love with Trace without knowing it's part of the anime. So when the intro started playing as the end credits rolled, this is pretty much my reaction, but a lot more hyped and a tad bit emotional. In my last video about The Story of Us, I talked about how it's a song about the hero wishing to protect Frieren and pave the way for her without being noticed. But with Trace, it becomes a song about Frieren wishing to see and talk to him by tracing the path they've shared, all the way to heaven. So if you listen and place these two songs side by side, they paint a picture of how, despite being in a different time and space, Himeiru and Frieren's feelings for each other are finally on the same wavelength. But Trace is more than just about the story between them. In the final episode, accompanied by the ending animation that looks back on the story of Season 2, we see the traces of Frieren's party and the impact they left on the people and villages they crossed paths with. The theme of Season 2 is very much about hometown, and while it was explored in the OP Lulu by Mrs. Green Apple, which I've covered, combining Trace with a montage of the villagers and merchants regrouping and rebuilding really elevates the show's emphasis on this theme. And to quote the dwarf who built the bridge, 200 years is more than enough to build a new village. Buildings and people may not last forever, but just as Himeiru left his mark on Frieren, leading her to leave a mark on the people and places she helped along the way, new hometowns can be found, and her own traces can also blossom in other forms. When Shitaruka asked why Frieren is always there encouraging him, she answered because that's what Frieren would have done. And that's really what this song is about. We're all following traces of those who we hold dear. Now let's move on to the lyrics. The song begins by informing listeners when and where Frieren's perspective is set. Yoru no skima, the gap between the night, is such a beautiful and acute way to paint a picture in our minds. There are no gaps between nights, but when our memories unconsciously come back to us, it feels like we're stuck between reality and memory, sometimes so vividly that Frieren can almost hear her name being called by the person she's desperately looking for. From my heart to my fingertips, from her core to the edge of her body, every fiber of her being wants to be next to him. This is arguably the most important line of the entire song, as the affection or love is what's gonna carry our loved ones' traces through time and space, even when they're no longer around. And for Milet, this song is her way of saying thank you to Frieren, a show that reminded her of the importance of those close to her and those she shared her journey with. In the pre-chorus, "Sono ashiato o mata tado deita" is such a brilliant line on so many levels. Ashiato is a noun for trace, while tado deita is the past tense for trace. So I once again traced your trace, but significantly more poetic. Also, in the bridge of The Story of Us, we saw the line "Tado deiku anata no ato," which uses the exact same words to foreshadow the very line we're discussing right now, further showcasing the thought process Milet put into writing these two songs and why they work so well in tandem. The chorus is another callback to The Story of Us. I talked about how the song uses Yoni to reflect Himeiru's prayers of wishing to protect Frieren and give her wings that could cast away the darkness on her path. And here, even though their thoughts aren't conveyed to each other, Frieren is also wishing that she could clear the darkness in order to one day reach him. Also, in The Story of Us, Himeiru wants to protect Frieren without her knowing, so very subtle. But here, all of her gestures are interactive and the complete opposite of his approach, showing the different stages of where they're at in this relationship that's a century too late. In the second verse, after taking a detour which is about 50 years, Frieren finally realizes that the time they spend together is like a bouquet that never withers, blooming in her heart. Something Milet did that stood out to me in this song is how she describes memories. From a non-existent gap between nights, a voice you can never hear, to a flower that never withers. Songwriting has always been a strong suit of hers, but she's really upped her game with The Story of Us and Trace. Now what's interesting is that in the second chorus, similar to the story of us, we got another switch in perspectives. I want you to remember that even if you're lost, you're not alone. This sentiment was also expressed by Himeru in the story of us. Himeru's perspective continued to the bridge as he assured Frieren that he would guide her through the journey by her side. As the final chorus arrives, the perspective then switches back to Frieren, ending the song on a high note. Trace is honestly one of my favorite Frieren and milet songs ever. The lyrics are amazing as I've just finished talking about it, but her performance on this track is truly peerless. I've been mesmerized by her beautiful voice and incredible vocals since her debut, but what she did on Trace is genuinely exceptional. The story of us and Trace are, as I mentioned, sister songs that complement each other. Although both songs included Himeru and Frieren's perspectives, you can tell who the main character of each song is. The story of us is more outward, grand, and speaks to the journeys that people share together, whereas Trace is more personal and introspective about our memories of a special someone. Put together, I can't imagine a better duo to reflect and be part of the story of Frieren and the fans. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. You can find more anime, songs, or J-pop related videos on my YouTube channel or on my Patreon, where I upload videos that are affected by copyrights. This has been Cushion. See you next time.